every now and then, God will send a man who sees her differently, a man who can look past the damage and recognize development, a man who sees the wings that she forgot she had, and a man who loves her softly enough not to pierce through her chrysalis, but gently enough to help her unfold.
Thank you for tuning in to the Queen's Court podcast, a space curated for women by women. Here we celebrate empowerment, faith, sisterhood, and growth. So pull up a seat, settle in, and let's step into the rain room together.
Welcome back to the Queen's Court, a space curated for women by women where faith, sisterhood, and real conversations meet. I'm your host, Neicey Ford, and today we're going to continue in this season where we're talking about the space between the woman you were and the woman that you're becoming. And today's conversation sits right in the center of that journey. If you caught the last episode between who I am and who I'm becoming, then you'll remember I mentioned a blog that I wrote years ago titled Cocoon. And so today we're going to bring that writing full circle because it connects directly to why so many women struggle to receive real love when it finally does show up. So in that blog, Cocoon, I wrote about a woman who learned to protect herself after being broken one too many times. And I talked about how a cocoon isn't a place of weakness, but a place of development. It's where you go when heartbreak knocks the wind out of you, when betrayal shakes your trust, and disappointment becomes too familiar, and you start questioning your own worth. The cocoon becomes a refuge, a shelter, a quiet place where you rebuild in silence and relearn yourself piece by piece. But I also wrote this. A cocoon is meant for transformation, not permanent residence. The cocoon, if you think about it, is kind of like a hallway between who you were and who you're becoming. And the truth is, in many of us, we stay for many of us, we stay in that place a little longer than we need to. And not because we're still healing, but because we're scared of what comes next. So we're scared of being seen again, scared of trusting again. And that was probably my biggest thing. And just scared of receiving what we ask God for, which sounds crazy, but we do oftentimes pray for things that we're not ready for. And so that cocoon ties directly into today's message because this is exactly what happens when a wounded woman meets real love. So before we get started or go any deeper into the segment, I actually want to read that blog. I've often wondered what makes a person mess up a perfectly good relationship. Is it because they don't value the relationship, or is it because they're so used to being in messed up relationships that it just comes naturally? Almost second nature, damaged goods. There are so many women who fall under this category. They've been hurt beyond repair, and it's so cliche, but it's not the next man's fault. But unfortunately, it is what it is because she is now the byproduct of what the man or men before him has done. She begins to save herself. She begins to protect herself and be her own heroine. She places her heart in a cocoon, hoping that one day she'll be able to break free and experience a real love. Until then, she continues to stay protected, and no one can hurt her as long as she knows how far to lower her guard. And if perhaps she lowers it too far, then she'll quickly retract it for fear of being hurt. What do women really want? It's simple. All women want to be loved. All women want a man whom they can call their own. All women want a man whom they feel protected and secure with. And all women want a man whom they can trust. So it's never an issue of what women want. However, the issue damaged women have is being able to openly receive what they want when it's given to them. Huh? I'll explain. I told you what women really want. So let's just say she gets him. She meets a man who's loving and so willing to love her. She meets a man who wants to be exclusively hers. She meets a man who makes her feel protected and secure, whether she's in his presence or not. She meets a man who she feels she can trust. Now, what does she do with him? Now, initially, She's on cloud nine. She has found the man of her dreams. He's all she's ever hoped and dreamed of and more. Initially, she feels like she deserves him and all that he has to offer her. Initially, she accepts him with open arms. But remember, she's damaged goods or damaged beyond repair, so she suspects it's too good to be true. She suspects that he is just like him, but she refuses to let him do the same thing to her as he did. She refuses to let him have that much access to her heart, leaving herself vulnerable and exposed. So what does she do? She returns to the familiar. She returns to what she knows. She returns to her safe zone because this is something she's never had, so she doesn't truly know what to do with it. She looks for reasons why and looks for familiar actions to validate her suspicions, ways to sabotage what she really wants. For some women, this is real. For some women, this is a never ending cycle. For some women, it's going to take a man who recognizes that she is an angel whose wings have been clipped by a perfectly dressed decoy and is willing to stay through her healing process. For her, it's going to take a man whose will to love can penetrate through her chrysalis cocoon without piercing or causing any more trauma to her damaged heart. What do women know? What do women who know what they want and get what they want do when they get it? They pray hard and let go of the past. Realize and understand that they deserve happiness. You deserve him. Stop selling yourself short and recognize that you have a good man who is willing to help you deal with your insecurities, patiently waiting and wanting to love you. Give him a chance, trust yourself, and let him love you. Stop looking for reasons to stay sheltered in your cocoon. It's time to begin molting. Hope you're prepared to spread your wings and fly away. Not all men come to not all men come for something. Some come to restore. So I've often wondered why some of us ruin perfectly good relationships. Is it immaturity? Is it neglect? Not valuing the person? Or is it something much deeper? For many women, it's this. They're not sabotaging the relationship. They're still becoming someone who believes that she deserves a healthy one. And that took me a while to identify because, like I said, I wrote this several years ago. So when I go back and I reread it, it's breathtaking to me sometimes how much I've grown over all of those years. But that's one of the things that I had to learn because it wasn't that I was sabotaging anything. It's just that I was still becoming that person who believed that I deserved a healthy relationship. When pain has been your teacher, love feels like a foreign language. And when chaos was your normal, consistency sometimes can feel suspicious. When we experience heartbreak, that heartbreak teaches us survival. And so when we're in situations where we are now able to be ourselves, we're able to be soft. We don't have to always be on guard. When we're in that softness now feels unsafe because we've been in and dealing with, heartbreak and survival for so long. So this is the early stage of becoming and becoming aware of the patterns you learned in your wounded seasons. Wounded women don't become guarded on purpose. We become guarded by experience. So we place our hearts in that emotional cocoon and it feels safe and it feels controlled. It feels familiar. We know when to lower our guard, but we also know when to raise it back up. And we know how to protect ourselves without even saying a word. But here's the truth. The same cocoon that helped us survive can suffocate us if we never come out of it. So becoming requires a moment where we say, I can't stay in this safe place forever. Um, People love to say that women don't know what they want, but we do. We know exactly what we want. We want love, we want security, we want honesty, we want consistency, we want communication. There are so many things that we want, and we can tell you we can list them down, from 1 to 230, however many it takes, but we can make a list of that. Um, and we also want a man that we can trust with the version of ourselves that we're still becoming. The problem isn't desire. The problem is receiving what we desire after being disappointed. So when a woman finally gets the man that she's prayed for, the man who's loving and consistent and stable and protective and faithful, she doesn't know what to do with him. I mean, we're excited, but also suspicious. She's open, but also guarded. And she wants it, but she's terrified of losing it because becoming it asks you to step outside of the old story. When a woman with a history of hurt meets a good man, he scares her. He scares her more than the wrong one ever did because that's something that she's familiar with. But when she meets a good man, she starts searching for flaws. She starts searching for patterns, for reasons to run, for proof that she's right about him being, or she's right about her being unworthy. And not because she doesn't want him, but because she's becoming a version of herself that she's never met before. And that unfamiliarity creates fear. Fear creates self-sabotage, and self-sabotage recreates the pain that we were trying to avoid. Becoming requires honesty. So we have to ask ourselves, am I rejecting him or am I protecting old wounds? Every now and then, God will send a man who sees her differently, a man who can look past the damage and recognize development, a man who sees the wings that she forgot she had, and a man who loves her softly enough not to pierce through her chrysalis, but gently enough to help her unfold. And this is the kind of man who doesn't just love who she is, like he also loves who she's becoming. If this is you, if you're still in that cocoon, still fighting old fears and still protecting old wounds, hear me out. You are not too broken to be loved. You are not too guarded to be understood, and you are not too damaged to be chosen. Becoming means letting go of the past version of yourself. It means trusting yourself again and giving yourself permission to receive what you deserve. And queen, not all men come to take, some come to restore. So I want you to say this with me. I am becoming whole. I am becoming open to healthy love. I am becoming the healed version of myself. I am becoming the woman God designed me to be. I am becoming free from my past. I am ready to unfold. And to everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, do me a favor. Follow the podcast, share this episode with a sister who needs it, and subscribe so that you don't miss what's next. So you can follow the Queen's Court or listen and follow the Queen's Court on Apple, Spotify, and Instagram at the Queen's Court Pod. You can also follow on TikTok at The Rain Room, and that's TheReign Room. So I want to thank you for joining me in the Rain Room today, where healing happens, crowns are adjusted, and becoming is always in season. So until next time, keep becoming and keep reigning.
Thank you for joining us in the Queen's Court today. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and download so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep reigning with purpose and walking in power.